everyone.
Welcome to the pod. It's really good to be doing it because we had a bit of a crisis last week. I wasn't here. I was involved in a mid-air crisis.
Trauma,
which was obviously quite fun.
No, you can't have that. Go away.
Pablo just walked in, and I can tell Paul, while I've been away, has been feeding Pablo all over the house.
I really haven't.
Strictly told him not to do. Because every time I pick any food up anywhere, Pablo suddenly appears.
I have not fed him, except in his dish.
Well,
this is new behaviour, and I don't know where he's going from.
Okay. Anyway, so I was on the flight, and we were over... Actually, we were going up the eastern seaboard of the United States of America.
Have you seen the filthy fucking look that cat's giving me?
Just ignore him.
Sorry.
He's listening to me. And suddenly they said that the engine number 4, which is the outer one on the right-hand wing, as you look forward in the aeroplane, had to be closed down because it was overheated. No, actually, I didn't hear that, Paul, but I tell you what, I was upstairs quite close to the pilot's, to the cockpit, and I noticed comings and goings.
Cockpit.
I noticed comings and goings, sort of
slight anxiety.
Yeah, the flight deck and also the cabin crew just moving in a slightly unusual way. It was only in retrospect that I realised what was going on. Then the announcement came that we had a problem and that we couldn't go over the Atlantic. We had to turn back, and this was good because in fact we were quite close to Orlando, which is a sort of quite an active airport, but a kind of shithole place in Florida. So we were about to land there, and the American refused us permission to land.
Buddy.
I thought, I wonder what that's about. It relaxed me because I knew we weren't in an emergency then. And actually, if a 747 can fly across the Atlantic on 2 engines, I think it can go quite a long way on 1 actually. But
I wouldn't want to try that out.
But I'm pretty sure it can land on 1. But it can definitely go over the Atlantic on 2. And as we were on 3, I knew it was okay. But the reason they didn't let us land, it became clear, was because they didn't. Listeners? Yeah. It was a plane from Jamaica, and we were about to land in America. And of course, a lot of the people on there didn't have American visas, and the Americans just wouldn't make the extra effort because they didn't want anyone without the right paperwork on their soil. They've just got they must have, Paul, I noticed it straight away. I just thought that's what this is about. Yeah, I'd taken 2 Mogadon. I was absolutely, completely out of it. Suddenly I was having to wake up, But even I threw 2 Mogadon and whatever it was, 5 rums. I could see what was going on. And sure enough, a Jamaican behind me said, that's America for you. It's an emergency. We could all crash and die, but just because we haven't got visas, they're not going to let us even touch down.
Drop into the sea before they let you land.
Yeah, exactly. And I did think about that, and I thought, well, what would happen? Which is what did happen, is that we landed in Jamaica, and everyone was put into a hotel. Not me. I went back to my place, but everyone was put in a hotel. And I did think, had that happened in Orlando, how many fewer people would there have been on the second leg of the journey? Because the Jamaican does like to nip off when they find themselves in. I don't think any Jamaican would dispute that or not be proud of that. If I were Jamaican, I am a little bit Jamaican, I am proud of that. That if you give them an opportunity to skedaddle, they're not stupid enough not to take it.
Yeah, I mean, what else are they going to do? Like wait for years, and now they're closing down all the opportunities for green card.
File. It's called M-File, which means you apply for apply to, and the M-File, and it can take 10 years. You can be separated from each other for 10 years. But I imagine this hotel would be in some kind of Days Inn on the outskirts of Orlando, and the back of the hotel is like got sheets tied together as everyone bailed out,
running across the freeway at the back,
scarpered into America.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we then had to go all the way back to Jamaica. And that was the way I rang Paul and said there's a bit of a situation. I'm not going to be podding with you this morning.
But I didn't panic. I just thought, it's not good. We did miss a week. We're sorry about that. We have to apologise, but there were extenuating circumstances.
So we had 24 hours back in Jamaica, and there's only one other thing to add to this, and that's when we then went back to the plane. It was they obviously couldn't fix it. They had a bloke on a wobbly ladder, a Jamaican on a wobbly ladder with like 1 spanner. Tinkering around with that engine.
An adjustable spanner from B&Q.
Exactly. And he didn't manage to solve it. So they brought in an extra in a new plane, and the plane was completely uncatered, Paul. Yeah, well, that's what you would have thought. I'd got so drunk and so out of it, I didn't realise what the palaver was, because everyone was like having a hullabaloo on the way in. I didn't know what it was. It was because they'd said, you can have a little bit of money and you've got to buy your food before you get on board. I completely ignored all that, just piled on. And then I kind of woke up after about 4 hours, and normally you wake up and there's that smell of airplane food and like trash everywhere. You know, those stupid little trays and bits of plastic and knives and forks and napkins and glasses and plastic things. And there was none of it. And there was no trolley going up and down. There was no drinks. There was only water allowed on the plane. And I tell you, it made the flight so much more enjoyable. It was so much nicer. Well, actually, I felt for all of us. I can speak for all of us. Ow, bang, bang, bang. But it was really nice. There was much less litter, much less shit. And you didn't arrive bloated with that absolutely disgusting food. Actually, I remember, I think I described it actually in Time to Go, watching a bloke eat his entire tray backwards, starting with the blackcurrant tart and going through the cheese and then ending up with the salad.
I've always wanted to do that in a restaurant, and I don't know why. It's not. I've always wanted to go into a restaurant and have pudding or coffee. So can we have coffees actually with a fancy coffee somewhere really nice as well, like Jay Sheiky somewhere? And it's actually, can we have the dessert menu?
Should we try that?
And then go backwards through the menu.
Should we try that?
And end up with a starter.
Yeah, end up with some oysters.
Don't you think?
A glass of champagne.
Great.
Yeah, no, I'd really like to try that.
Why not?
See what the effect is.
Yeah.
Let's see what the effect is.
See what happens. I know you don't like it, but Philip K. Dick wrote a book once called Counter Clock World, in which time runs backwards. You know, like the old theory of the expanding universe is that eventually it will reach a point where it can't expand anymore and it will start to contract again. This is the theory of the early theory of the Big Bang, so that the universe will start to contract. And when it contracts, in theory, time will run backwards. So in his book, the dead are rising from the grave all over the place, and people don't like to be seen eating, and because everything's going backwards. And eventually you have to go and find your mum.
Oh, God, what? And then you squiddle into her.
Yeah, go home. And everything's going backwards, and people are getting younger and younger all the time.
Right. Martin Amis did that, didn't he, in Time's Arrow?
Well, he stole it off Philip K. Dick.
Well,
One of your heroes, isn't he? Stealing off one of my heroes. There you go, guy.
Yeah, there we go.
Quod est demonstratum.
There we go. Anyway, so I came back and it was... it's kind of been quite grey and rainy, and it was like God, Paul, I cannot tell you how luscious and glossy and colourful and exciting and just so... It was seething with life, Jamaica in June. A bit of bamboo. I've got an outside shower, and there was a bit of bamboo exactly level with my eyes on my first day.
Oh.
The top of it, the tip of it. And by the time I left, I was there 2 weeks, was I?
3.
3 weeks. It was maybe 25 feet above me.
What?
30 feet. It was growing. I worked out about 6 inches a day.
Wow.
6 inches a day. And that, although the bamboo is faster than everything else, everything is growing like that. There's such an abundance of just life and fruit and mangoes.
Fecundity.
Yeah, it's really great. And the sea was really beautiful. It was lovely. And then I come back to Britain and it's kind of grey and problematic for me anyway.
Yeah, well, I've had a few problems, but...
Yeah.
It's
You've had a few what?
Problems, but I'm living on.
I'm pleased to hear it.
Eh?
I'm pleased to hear it. Go on. Cheer me up with a few.
I've had a tooth pulled out last week, which is really traumatic. I have a really bad relationship with dentists. I really I want to kill them all. When I'm in the company of a dentist, if they're not really nice to me, because they're inflicting pain on you and charging you for it.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often, the work goes wrong, and you have to pay for it again. I just had the tooth pulled out, which I think cost me about £2,000 to have done, because it had a root canal and a gold crown on it, and they've just ripped it out of my head, and now it's got infected, and I'm just like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, Paul has been suffering with extreme toothache.
Oh, that's awful.
Which has been mildly amusing, but even my heart has slightly melted when I've seen what he's been going through. Stop giggling. What?
It's that feeling when you want to put your head on the floor and somehow put your own boot onto your own head and stand as hard as you can on your own head, and you can't physically do it. Perhaps you want to go into the workshop, open up the wood vice as much as you can, and close it on your own skull.
Surely that will make it worse.
Something about squeezing it a certain amount so that you
Right, you're right, because people have a bandage right round their head, don't they, with a knot on it.
yeah, you kind of want to.
In
I don't know what it is.
Movies.
Anyway, it's all right. The other thing is take loads of codeine and get
Codeine, is that you've been your drug of? That's what the go-to drug, is it for
dihydrocodeine?
Dihydrocodeine.
The DF11A is my drug of
Where
choice.
do you score it?
Well, it's not easy to get off somebody who's had a hip operation.
Oh, my sister.
Exactly. Thank you, Emma, if you're listening. Yeah, that did make my week a little bit more bearable last week. But now they've stuck something in the hole, and I've got some. I mean, I'm sure nobody wants to hear about this, but it's something that unites us all. What did you call it? I said our constant pain, our constant companion, and guys came back with our cruel companion.
What?
Pain.
Pain, yeah.
Our cruel and constant companion, we should say.
Yeah. Did I say that? It sounds a bit crap for me.
Guy, that's what you said.
Oh, okay.
I said constant, you said cruel.
All right. Yes. He's malevolent. Pain. He wants to hurt you.
That's what he does.
He wants to do it.
That's
Peter
what he does.
Payne. Hello.
The leveller.
My name's Peter Payne.
I'm here to level you.
I've just come to sit down
I'm here to
beside you.
remind you that you're not that special. Mm-hmm. 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 Are you familiar with this?
Anyway,
he grendels one of your nuts.
Anyway, 2 weeks
in a pair of pliers.
2 weeks into my stay in Jamaica, I decided to take another holiday from my holiday, or a break from my break, and I spent the weekend in Panama City. I was going to go to Haiti, but I couldn't get a flight. Then I was going to go to Cuba, and they said, you got to go through Miami. I didn't want to go to America.
No.
So they said, I said, well, where do you go from Montego Bay? And they said,
where do you fly to?
Just cities in America. It's all tourism in America. Mexico City and Panama City.
Wow.
So I said, to Panama it is. I'm going to Panama. And it was great. I love to fly over the Caribbean. It's such a romantic thing to do.
I'd love to fly to Mexico City with you sometime, Guy. Have you ever been there?
No.
It's unbelievable.
This is the first time I've ever been in
Anyway,
Central America.
Let's hear about Panama, because I've never been there and I've never thought of going there.
No, it's built on a swamp. Well, it's the swamp. It's a swamp between the two Americas, and it's obviously where the canal goes through. And on this swamp, which is like a kind of a bit of the Norfolk Broads, hot mosquito-ridden, is this fucking great big city being built. It's a 70-storey tower blocks, residential. And when you go past them, there's one light on, and like 7 of them. Because if you avail yourself...
So wait, how many flats and one light?
Probably 300, 400, 500 flats.
And one
light in
right.
each in one of those blocks. Because if you avail yourself of the services of discretion and anonymity that are offered by the Panama legal the legal system,
as advertised in the Panama Papers.
Indeed, because you can own a company there, and the Panama government will not reveal who that you own that company. You don't have to declare who you are publicly, but you do have to buy a bit of property in Panama. So what they do is, the way that the local guys have all made their money is that they put up blocks of flats saying, right, well, and then they got the politicians to say, you've got to buy one. So there's this fucking great big empty city, and then this old town with some really brilliantly seedy people in it. And I recommend anyone who has a taste for kind of deposed dictators, paedophiles on the run, but really quite bad paedophiles. You have to
murdering
people running away from the Hague Court of Human Rights or Justice, whatever it is. Serbian warlords, coke barons.
Down on their luck, though.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, no, actually, there were some you felt things were going okay for, but they were just in Panama for business.
Can't get out.
They were in Panama. They can't get out because they're too scared to go somewhere.
Yeah.
You felt a lot of them. When you said they come from London, they would look at me wistfully.
And because they know they'd have
And
the collar
say,
felt,
you know, they had their time in Knightsbridge, but they can't go anywhere near the EU again now.
Right.
And it was I like the atmosphere. I would recommend it. It's certainly not your normal tourist destination. Just the plane itself. There was someone taking coke on the plane, which is pretty shocking.
You saw this?
9 in the morning, yeah. Which was, and it's just like the back door.
Like, that's a good idea.
It's like the broken door of the warehouse that is Colombia. You know, and it's just like it's just a whole
spilling out,
spilling out onto the street. It's it was good to go because there's no real tourism there. I really like that.
I can't imagine there is, unless it's cocaine tourism.
It's a sort of flea-bitten, sort of mosquito-ridden, corrupt swamp.
And you went into some nightclubs, did you?
Yeah, it was great. I said I come from Jamaica, and once we established that, I said I need to meet the top man here and introduce myself. And just went from club to club. It was nice. So they were very friendly, very friendly. They were really pleased to see anyone from Jamaica. And
Russians?
Yeah, but I didn't speak to any. But they were they were kind of Eastern European types. There were a lot of Europeans there. There were a lot of, and you know, you just thought, what the hell are you doing here? At least I've got an excuse. You know, I'm wasting my time. You know, what are you
up to?
Here? Yeah, what are you up to? Yeah,
what are you up to? Yeah, perhaps
so I came back and came back to Jamaica, which seemed like a very kind of lawful, quiet, bourgeois spot after
amazing.
A night or two in Panama.
I'd like to go there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I was just thinking about one time we went to Cuba a long time ago, and I was there with a couple of artists, one of them who sadly died now, but. And we drove down to the Bay of Pigs in a larder. It's a long bloody way in a larder when you can see the floor through the, going past because the floor pan's so rotten. And it was really hot, no air conditioning, noisy. And it was like a 9-hour journey or something. We really were regretting it back. And got there and there was fuck all there, of course. Just a bloke sitting on a rock with a coconut in his hand. Nothing to see at all. It was a bit disappointing, but we stayed in it.
Well, nothing happened there, didn't it?
Well, no, there was an invasion, there was.
That
their arses kicked.
I'm sorry, I thought that was the threatened invasion, but they did actually go ashore.
They did actually invade.
They did get
shit kicked out of them because they knew they were coming for somehow, didn't they? But what we did do is we stayed in one of those.
Never really goes very well for America, their military operations. Well, considering they have such a huge defence budget,
bit of a sweeping statement,
and they really, really pride themselves on their kind of military prowess. It almost always fucks up.
Either in the long term.
Since D-Day, that was the last one that went okay. It's nearly always a total fiasco. It's funny that, isn't it? You would have thought it would put them off it a bit.
Well, no, it doesn't, though, does it? Because they're nothing if not optimistic. But what we did do is we stayed in an all-inclusive hotel, and it was really horrible. I mean, they had people in there rolling cigars for you. It was quite high end, but it was horrible, and we just wanted to get out. They had these wristbands on. Of course, it's a bit like being in Jamaica. They don't want to let you out.
No.
But we went into this bar one night, to a local bar, and they were all playing guitars, and we thought, oh, this is great, and there were big girls. I mean, really big black girls in there and really skinny little men, and everybody was up to something. And it was obviously all the people who worked in the all-inclusives, but it was like rough arse. And we were like, yes, this is it, drinking rum. And we realised they were playing Beatles songs, and they didn't know the words. So they were playing stuff like, Helga Rigby, the plate of the night in the turret in a red or a bean, licking a dream. And we're like, what? And I'm like, no, guys, it's Eleanor Rigby picks up the rice in the church, and they're all like, what? Madre mia! And then we're like banging out these tunes. Everyone's like screaming because we knew the words. And there was a gang of us, English people, all singing the words, belting it out. We knew all the words. And every time we played another one, they just couldn't believe that we knew the words.
That's a very nice story.
So delighted.
That's a very nice story.
And then I was looking around the room, and all the people were coming out of the corners to join in. And more drinks were getting bought, and we were buying drinks. And I could to me, it was just paradise. This really old guy came out of the corner and was playing his guitar. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, this bottle flew across the fucking bar like this, across the room. and smashed into the face of this old guy who was standing next to me with a guitar and totally destroyed his nose.
Which was aimed at you, I take it.
Blood went everywhere. Like spapping, like somebody just smashed, like...
That's horrible, Paul. That's violent.
And everybody, I jumped on the old guy and like, so I was like, no, because I thought they were after him.
But
and then
clearly you.
Our friends all jumped up like that with their hands up like this, like in a ring around him. And then we realised what had happened was one of the girls had seen one of the kids one of the guys kissing the wrong girl or something, and had just thrown this bottle as hard as she could at his head, and he ducked, and it had gone straight into the face of the old geezer. It was just awful. I mean, it was like, what do you do then? We just basically had to give him money and get someone to take him to the hospital. But his nose was just like completely...
It wasn't your fault.
No, but you feel bad, don't you? Because... Maybe
speak for yourself.
It's like, it's a bit like that thing where you've kind of interfered with the normal run of things. It was a memorable night.
When I was looking at the Cuban trip, I realised how huge the distances were in Cuba, and I nixed that. But I'm thinking, I've still got the Haiti on my mind. But Mexico City, there is a direct flight to Mexico City, so maybe next time when Jamaica, we'll go to Mexico. Seems a bit overwhelming to me. I'm quite happy to... I love to go back to the same place time and time again. And because you see more if you travel less. Travel narrows the mind, I've often thought.
It's true that if you stay in one place, you really get to know it.
Yeah. Certainly if you skim around the world like my mum used to, she said, we saw the whole of South America. Well, we were there 3 weeks. If you could skim around from tourist attraction to tourist attraction, you really... Well, you see a lot. You learn a lot about tourists and tourism.
Yes,
you learn a lot about
the inside of coaches and trains.
Yeah, and the commodification of tourism, the commodification of people.
Bloody cruise ships.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
What?
But to go on a cruise ship. Oh, come on.
They're fucking horrendous things.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
I'm not going on one.
We had a good time on the ferry, do you remember?
Well, that's true. That was like a mini cruise. But we turned it into one. But the thing is, they dump all that shit at sea, guy. They're fucking terrible polluters. They're disgusting. You can't get off the fucking
they
things.
go past me in Jamaica, the really big, the carnival ones, huge ones.
They're the ones that have just been caught.
Vomit down the hull.
They're the ones that have just been caught dumping shit at sea.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me. And
they use crude oil when they're out at sea as well. They use dirty oil.
Yeah.
Really horrible. But I did enjoy it. I got really fascinated on the way back from France when we were on the ferry by the entertainment. I thought you could write a book about entertainers on
because there was quite a big stage, considering that we were on a boat. The journey only lasted a few hours. There was like a theatre in there. Was it 9? Oh yeah, this was the one we had.
We had a cabin.
Did we pod from the cabin?
I think we did.
No, we didn't.
But there was those amazing
God, we couldn't
acts.
stop laughing. I can't remember. We just
hysterical.
could not stop laughing. We'd gone to one of those appalling... We went and got drunk in the restaurant.
That was funny.
We had 9 hours. 9 hours, you see, I think both of us figured, Paul, correct me if I'm wrong, in 9 hours from a standing start you can go right the way up to the top of the peak, and you've got enough time to get back down to get into the car and to drive out.
Sober enough to go home.
To drive out.
I thought it was a stroke of genius.
But we both knew that we had to hit the pedal quite hard as soon as we got at the beginning.
Brakes.
Yeah, at the beginning. We had to. Once we got on board, we had to.
I see what you mean.
Put the afterburners on to get up, and then decelerate up at the bottom. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
I'd like to do that again. Actually,
yeah,
that was to San Malo.
Yeah, and San Malo, because I had been reading this book about the 100 Years' War, and San Malo comes into that because the Brits, when they were ready to go over and chevaucher, basically rape and pillage the villages and towns of northern England.
Than the Vikings, you were telling me in some ways.
I don't know anything about the Vikings, but it was a well-known operation, 10 miles wide. You split your army into a line of into 3 groups, and you put them 3 miles apart each, and you kept in a line, and with a few kind of outliers between you, and you then moved forward in a 10-mile strip, and in that 10-mile strip, you burnt, stole, raped, killed, absolutely
Destroyed,
everything,
pillaged
everything, and it was a kind of it was an honourable occupation. It was a sort of noble calling,
like a weekend away.
Yeah, it was like knights did it. It was a sort of nightly thing. Yeah, it was not so much a weekend away. It was more like. It was a bit more like being an artist, I thought. It's like, I'm just off to do some work. I'm going into my studio.
Hang on. I'm
going to write a book now. And it would take about the same,
I've got a residency, yeah.
Take a few months, yeah. And then you would go in a huge arc because you didn't want to come back on a bit that you had already done. Occasionally, they had to cross over a bit that they'd already done. They used to complain because everything had already been pillaged and raped and destroyed. And anyway, they were around St Malo, and I really enjoyed reading that. But in fact, I was reading that book out loud to Paul the other night.
Oh, God,
this was the Battle of Agincourt, which I've got to.
Fantastic.
So I'm about 60 years in, quite a long way in them. And the description of the French on the night before Agincourt reminded me of the description of me and Paul the night before Glastonbury Festival, or indeed before almost any party we go to, which was the night before the battle, when the English in the drizzly night were getting as much rest and sleep as they could. The French,
because they were all starving and really knackered.
Yeah, they were knackered. The French spent the entire night before the battle gambling and drinking. Carousing, gambling and drinking. They peaked too early. Just like me with... It's always a Tuesday night of Glastonbury.
They went off too early.
I totally cane it. And I'm still really recovering on the Thursday or the Friday. And even with most parties, once got the party drugs and everything, I so often go off the night before. Right. Do you do that? Yeah, you do.
Of course, it's going off half-cocked, isn't it? It's a classic. It's enthusiasm, peaking too early.
It's youthful exuberance.
It's exuberance. I don't know about youthful, but it's definitely
because I think the thing is that if you do have, look, I was going to say I'm not condoning the taking of any drugs, but actually I am. To be honest, and if everyone at home, I recommend it.
It's miserable,
exactly, and without them, it's even harder. So the thing is, but obviously you've got to keep a bit of a level on it, and not going to get out of hand.
Crazy.
But still, if you get hold of some drugs to go to a party, as basically everyone does around here, they burn a bit of a hole in my pocket, Paul. I'll be honest. Do they with you?
That's why I tend to try and leave it as late as possible, or I hide them from myself. But that can backfire very badly.
You know what we were going to do? Me and Paul, I said, we've got this problem, we've got them in the house. So I said, let's mail them second class to ourselves. Do you remember? Yeah. I even got the envelope out.
Yeah.
I got the envelope out and I started writing Guy Kenway and my address on it. And I was going to put a second class stamp on, put them inside and post them, so we couldn't get them for like 48 hours.
But and then put them back in the post when they arrived.
I couldn't do it, Paul. I just thought, if they didn't come...
You could just give them to me. I wouldn't let you have them.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, because you know that works, that's why. I didn't realise till a few weeks ago, actually, Guy, just apropos of Sam Mallow, that the British, during the Second World War, during the Dunkirk invasion, hammered the fuck out of St Malo and killed thousands of French people. It was a real black... it was almost considered a war crime, what happened at St Malo.
Hold on, this is coming in, is it?
Yes.
Because the Normandy landings, they weren't very close to St Malo. They were about 30, 40, 50 miles
north.
So it would have been the first place they came to, though.
One of them.
The first city that they
came
to.
And St Malo and a few
others. That's it.
But they absolutely battered St Malo, the Allies, and killed thousands of French people. And the French were very, very upset about it, yeah.
Well, I thought the French were meant to be on our side.
Well,
it's always hard to know with the French.
Basically we fucked up, There was quite a strong garrison there, but we just fucking destroyed it. It's so mad that this was going on not very long ago.
Yeah.
I mean, all right, the 100 Years' War, all that stuff.
That was a bit of time ago.
I mean, you can think about these historic things, but it wasn't that long ago, It wasn't that long ago.
No, it wasn't. And I was reading it because when I was in Jamaica, I'm constantly talking to my friends about Jamaican history, and it nearly always ends up with me talking to them and them looking extremely disinterested about the slave trade, because I'm like guilty about it and I want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And they are like, it's the last thing I want to talk about. And they're like, really, can we get off this stupid subject? But I did think, I wonder what we were like before we went and did that. Perpetrated that outrage on all those Africans. I wonder what we were like with everyone else.
Don't forget the Irish.
Well, yeah. I have forgotten them actually, Paul, because I don't think they're the same. All right.
Don't start.
Anyway, but I don't think it was the same category.
No, it was bad though, Guy. It was fucking bad. All right.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
It was fucking bad.
But anyway, it turned out that what we did to the Africans was absolutely no different to what we tried to do to the French or to the Spanish. The Burgundians. We were, and I love to. Is it wrong that I really like to read about the description of the English archers at Crécy and Agincourt, and how the French, all in their huge horses and all dressed up, holding a flute of champagne in one hand and a jousting, rod. What's it called? The long thing.
A lance.
A lance. Yeah. And a sort of, and a plate of snails on the pommel of their horse.
Discussing the night's gaming.
Exactly.
With the Duc de Barry or whatever it was.
Exactly. Cantered or walked their horse, trotted their horse into this.
A little more than a bit hungover.
Yeah.
And then, what is it, like 5,000 arrows?
No, come way more. In Crécy,